We've all heard and we all know that social media, like YouTube, is not real life. And everyone knows that the cruising life and living on a sailboat full-time, as shown on most YouTube videos, is really not as glamorous as portrayed. This video is not meant to state the obvious, which you all know, but it's from a YouTube video channel creator who has lived on a sailboat and has cruised a portion of the East Coast of the United States. So for those who are an average person that's looking to live on a boat, on their own boat, full-time and work on the boat, are these channels actually realistic, or are they just entertainment? Are they a show, or are they real? What's it really like for the average person who wants to buy their own sailboat, live on the boat full-time and work from the boat? And is it possible to earn a living from YouTube? What's it really like?
Telephone is ringing, calling for me. I don't want to talk right now, so just let me be. Someone's knocking, rapping on my front door. I'm not buying what they're selling, I told you before. Amy, can you hear me calling? Baby, love with you I'm falling. Baby, we could get together and see what we can see.
From all that I have seen and read, both on YouTube, Liveaboard, cruising, sailing channels, and the 4 or 5 main sailing internet forums, that most people watching have no idea what it's actually like really living on a sailboat, and particularly in which ways it is different from what is portrayed on social media, like Instagram and especially YouTube. So from my experience living on a sailboat, as well as my experience of making videos for YouTube, I want to talk about some things that most YouTube sailing channels don't show or talk about. I do this as a public service for those of you watching out there who want to jump into the full-time cruising and liveaboard sailing lifestyle, living on a sailboat. So I dedicate this to all of you who are dreaming of living on a sailboat and cruising, or maybe even making your own YouTube channel about living full-time and cruising on a sailboat. Now note, this video is not geared for experienced sailors or those who primarily day sail in home waters, with an occasional overnight or two, sailing within a 50-mile range of their home port. So in order to know if the cruising life is really for you, you have to know about all sides of the lifestyle. And to define what I'm talking about, let's be clear about what I mean by the cruising life. I use the phrase to refer to buying your own personal sailboat, owning your own sailboat, living on it by yourself or with a partner, and traveling as far as your skills, your budget, or your boat can take you. Again, I'm not referring to people who have a sailboat, a small one or even a big one, but who keep their boat at one dock or one marina year-round, and who sail at whatever level of sailing experience out and back from their permanent home port, not going more than 50 miles away. I will refer to these folks as racers or day sailors, and as I've mentioned, this video is not really about them. Well, now that we've made that very important point, back to the topic of this video, which is, are the liveaboard, cruising, sailing channels really depicting accurate and realistic life for those who want to get into the cruising lifestyle and are not necessarily interested in either racing or day sailing, and thus would look at a boat that's different than what a racer would want or what a day sailor would like? And will you be living alone by yourself on the boat, or will you be with a partner? Are the channels portraying what your expectations are, and will those expectations be met? Most wannabe cruisers, liveaboard sailors, have no idea what the sailboats they're viewing on these YouTube channels actually cost to purchase and to own and to maintain. Even the boats that appear simple are out of the financial reach of many people, especially young people in their 20s and 30s. The reason the actual cruising life is different in real life than what a given YouTube video maker is presenting is not because the YouTube creator is dishonest, not just because they're trying to create drama, or trying to cash in on the potential money that can be earned with high viewer content and many Patreon supporters. No, the problem is that even the most honest, genuine, and authentic liveaboard, full-time cruising sailing channels, those who show the good and the bad, cannot accurately portray in a video what you will actually encounter when you are actually living full-time cruising and working on your liveaboard sailboat.
Oh my gosh, the rolling is only getting worse. Thankfully, we're pointed into it right now, so it's just an up and down motion instead of being tossed on our side, but yeah, look at these boats go. So we've decided with our neighbors on Polaris, Daniel and Catherine and Constantine, that we had over the other night, we're gonna head to the beach and have a little bonfire.
To show what life during the week is really like in a 15-minute video in a week, comprised of 168 hours of real life. So think about that. 168 hours of real life. And their goal is to make a video that's fun to watch, right? We don't want to bore anyone, and which represents actually 15 minutes or so out of 168 hours per week. That's less than even 1%. That's like 0.149. I mean, it's nothing. What they have to show, what we have to show, is that which can be exciting video, or at least interesting to watch, so almost all of it is left out. And what is left out is that which is not fun or entertaining. And that's what we really want to share with you, so that you kind of can know exactly what you're getting into and not totally believe the YouTube sailing channels. So the great stuff is interesting and the bad is dramatic, is interesting, but the 99% that is the actual majority of the life of the cruising liveaboard sailor is not actually even shown. Why? Because it would be too boring. The channels who leave the boring and mundane stuff in, they don't really get too many views, as opposed to channels that show the exciting adventures and exotic locations and who color grade all their footage to make it pop more, you know, like more eye candy. So slick professional level entertainment is great to watch. We all love it. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it doesn't accurately portray what you're really going to get into if you decide to move aboard your sailboat and live on it full time. For example, here's a simple thunderstorm. But did it last all day and all night? No. Just an example of how YouTube video creators can film things in a way that makes it entertaining, even exciting, but doesn't necessarily represent every day what you're going to be experiencing every night, and thus it might not really be a great vision of what you can actually expect the cruising sailing life to be for you.
We are running away from 60-mile-an-hour winds and lightning. Only problem is our sailboat is like a huge lightning rod, and it's the tallest thing.
Now, to be more specific, those of you who are going to be able to get a really expensive sailboat and $200,000, you're not going to have to really worry about some of these things, but for the vast majority of people who are looking to get into liveaboard full-time, working and living in your sailboat, let's talk about just a few particulars. Number one, let's talk about climate control. You know, things we take for granted when we live in an apartment or a house really can be a luxury on a less expensive sailboat when you're living on it. Let's talk heat and air conditioning and humidity control. You know, when it's hotter than 80 degrees or colder than 50 degrees, it can really get miserable living on a sailboat without adequate climate control. Now, there are ways around that. Like any problem, if you throw enough money at it, it will go away. In fact, a lot of problems in life, if you throw money at it, it tends to make it go away. Not every problem, but a lot of problems can just be solved with money. But what if you are on a budget? What if you don't have a lot of money? Let's take a look at what it actually costs to just have normal climate control, that which we're used to normally living in a house or an apartment. For starters, let's talk about heat. You could install a modern reverse cycle heater and air conditioner, and with the ductwork, what might that cost? Also, humidity control is really important because sailboats need to be ventilated, otherwise mold's going to grow, as well as damage any type of wood instruments that you have in the boat. And so humidity control is something, again, that we take for granted, and proper heat and air conditioning can keep that humidity at enjoyable levels. How about when you're cruising? When it's really cold out and you're cruising in the winter, which we like to do. Actually, Amy really enjoys cruising in the winter because the waterways are so empty. which she likes. Let's talk about how much a diesel heater would cost to install. So these things usually don't come on an inexpensive sailboat. So that's just one example of things that you take for granted that you really might not see or hear much about on most of the big YouTube channels. I watched so many of the channels for so many years, and there are so many things that were never really talked about or shown that are really an important part of the full-time living on a sailboat and working on a sailboat lifestyle. For instance, how many people know that many cruisers have a difficult, if not impossible, time to sleep when the boat is at anchor? And the ability to stay at anchor is a major way to save major money, so you don't have to be at marinas. But the boat has to be equipped to be able to live at anchor with alternative energy, electricity, good communications, as well as a windlass, which doesn't hurt when your boat starts to drift at anchor, especially in the middle of the night. Now, that's not to say that the cruising liveaboard full-time lifestyle is not wonderful and exciting and really, really rewarding. But those are the things that are shown, all the exciting, beautiful things that you see, as well as the dramatic escapades that you get out of. But that's only such a very, very small part. Yes, the full-time liveaboard cruising lifestyle has plenty of beautiful things to see, exciting places to go. It really is a great lifestyle. I just wish that some of the larger channels would have showed some of the downside more. So we're not knocking the lifestyle. We really have loved living this lifestyle, but we have encountered more than our expected obstacles along the way. And it does cost a lot more money than we had ever thought, that's for sure. Especially to pay for a house and the costs and expenses of maintaining a boat. If you've enjoyed this video and would like to see a follow-up to go over some of the other things that are never shown so that you can be more informed as far as if the cruising full-time liveaboard lifestyle is for you, please leave a comment and I'll make a part 2 for this video just for you.